Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. I am Bert the Stormtrooper and this is the home of That's Just Prime, the comprehensive Optimus Prime review series. I also review other Transformers, lots of G1 stuff, as well as Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Ghostbusters, GoBots, and pretty much any other toy that may jump out at me. I also do the occasional arcade and pinball machine videos, unboxings, blogs, challenges, and miscellaneous videos where my daughter usually makes fun of me. Those are a lot of fun. If you're new to the channel, thanks for checking me out. Please be sure to click that subscribe button and don't forget to give me a thumbs up and share if you like what you see. Hello and welcome, I'm Bert the Stormtrooper and welcome to another repair video where I try to repair an old non-working electronic game. And once again, we have another electronic battleship, or rather an electronic talking battleship. I've said this before, Battleship is my favorite tabletop game and I have multiple versions of it in my collection. And kind of like some people have an urge to adopt every kitten or puppy they see, similarly, I seem to have an urge to repair every Battleship game that I find that's not working. So I found this one complete. As you can see, I even got the box for it. The game is complete. It's got all the ships. It's got most of the pegs. Usually you're not going to get all the pegs on a used game. In extremely good condition, very, very cheap, because according to the seller, it'll turn on and it'll talk. And that's it. It will not go into game selection or player select or even start the game at all. So I figured let me take a look at it. I'm suspecting it'll be a corrosion or a contact issue. That'll be an easy fix. Hopefully we'll have a nice working game, or maybe it'll be something else we won't know until we open it and get into it. Additionally, besides repairing it, if we get it repaired, we're also going to go ahead and upgrade that light and put one of the super bright LEDs, put some reflective tape in there so that the chamber will light up really, really nice when you hit a ship. So let's take a closer look at this, because it's not quite the same as the previous talking battleship that I've repaired here before. And here we have the two games side by side. Over here on the right is the original 89 version. This is the one that you saw me repair in a previous video. Over here on the left is the new one that we're going to attempt to repair today. This is the revised version of Electronic Talking Battleship. Very, very minor differences here going on with the two. The mold of the game itself is nearly identical with two exceptions. One, the original one was molded in a dark or a navy blue, where this new one is molded in black plastic. It looks really, really sharp. And then the speaker grill is different. Actually, there's three minor differences. So the speaker grill is different, where the original one was squared. This one now has a slant down. It looks more like a speaker grill. I don't know if that's supposed to make it sound better. I'm not quite sure. Another difference is you'll notice that I don't have the battery cover on this one. I do have the battery cover. It's right here. They added screws to the battery cover. Up to this point, the previous two versions of Electronic Battleship and the first version of Talking Electronic Battleship, all these battery covers were just tabbed on. You can just pop them right off. With this one, you have to screw it off, or on and off. It still uses 4 AA batteries, just like this one. Now, another difference is going to be internally, and that's going to be in the voice itself, where personally, I find the first edition to have a little more of a natural or realistic voice effect. The new one sounds a little more robotic or electronic. Not quite, I don't really care much for the way this one sounds as opposed to this one. Here, take a listen.
Prepare for battle. Select game.
And now for the newer one.
Prepare for battle. Select game.
You see, that sounds a little more modulated and less natural. So I kind of prefer the way this one sounds. Now, it just asked us to select game. So if we wanted to play the classic Battleship game, I shoot one, you shoot one, back and forth, we're going to select game 1. And if we attempt to do that on button 1 right here, nothing happens. Sure enough, it's not letting us select the game. So some of these buttons are working, some are not. If we go to game 2, that one is working.
Select players.
So once again, to select players, I'm going to select player 1. It won't let me. We'll go to 2 players.
2. Task force 1. Enter letter number.
So if I go to enter a coordinate of, let's say, E6, the button E5 is also not working. So let's do D and 6. Now I have to press enter. This one is
Enter.
also not working, as you can see. Because when I press that, then it's going to ask me to enter player 2. So it won't let me start the game. So sure enough, just as the seller described, we can turn the game on, we can hear it talk, but we can't proceed to actually play the game. So let's get this guy opened up and let's see if we can't figure out what's going on with it. Okay, so we're going to start by removing the bottom cover off of this. So if we go around the bottom here, same as before, we're going to have some molded clips on the bottom here, here, to here, and to here. And that's, as we push those in, that's going to allow us to remove this entire center section out. Okay, so we can set the base off to the side and flip this guy over, and here's our guts, and this looks pretty much like our other one did, so we're in good familiar territory. Now we just got to take out these screws and get to the bottom of the board. Okay. Right, so here we have the board, and all of our contacts are exposed. There is some corrosion on these, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the batteries back in, and then I'm going to do some testing to see if I can get it to work. And more than likely, we'll just be able to clean this up, and it'll be able to work. So actually, before I put the last battery in, I'm just going to go ahead and take this pencil eraser, and I'm going to use it very carefully. I'm going to actually put this at the edge of the table over here. You may not see this. Just so that I don't want to put any pressure on any of these components. So I'm just going to put the edge of it right here on the edge of the table and use this pencil eraser to clean this up. Right, so taking a quick inspection of the board, the traces all look good. There doesn't seem to be any damage. There's no water damage on here or anything like that. So there is a little bit of corrosion on this trace here and this trace here, but anything that's coming out of the buttons themselves is actually looking pretty good, other than just a little bit of corrosion, which I just cleaned up. So maybe that'll do it. If it doesn't, then we're going to have to start testing these traces and see where the breaks in the line are, and trying to repair that. But for the moment, let's just test it out as is and see what we've got.
Prepare for battle. Select game.
That's still not working.
Game 2. Select players. Prepare for battle. Select game.
Okay, so this is not making contact here. See, that works.
So, prepare for battle. Select game.
So that's not working. So that means that this one is also not working.
Game 4.
That actually did kick in.
Force 1. Prepare for battle. Select game.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to test each one of those that way and see, because when I tested it the first time, some of these buttons were not working. And now that game 4 that I just tried, that worked, and that first time that didn't work. So let me try a couple more. Enter is not working. And maybe this will help me find a common among the buttons that are not working, and maybe give me a clue as to where the problem might be. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Select game. Select game.
8,
Select game.
9.
Select game. Select game.
Okay, so 1, 5, and enter are not working on player 1 side.
Select game. Select game. Select game. Select game.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Select game.
Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Select game. Select game.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Game 4. Task Force 1. Prepare for battle. Select game. Game 3. Prepare for battle. Select game. Game 2.
Okay.
Select.
This might actually let me jump ahead a little bit and test the light.
Prepare for battle. Select game. Game 2. Select players.
So 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 10.
2. Task Force 1. Enter letter number.
And also enter. So my enter buttons are not working. 6 and 10 on that side. 1 and 5 on this side. Okay.
Prepare for battle.
Okay. So I'll keep testing and looking for continuity issues. I'm going to start looking for continuity issues on those buttons that we tried. All right, so maybe we're able to see that. So I was able to actually get a hit out and get the light to go off. So there is some corrosion right here on this line. There's a corrosion that's preventing continuity. So I got continuity from here to here, but I don't have continuity from here over to the fire button. So that's what's preventing my fire button from working on this end. And then similarly over here for button 1 and 5, there's a contact right here with this line is corroded and there's no continuity there. So I'm going to keep working on these and see if I can find a good way. I'm going to clean this up real good with some alcohol, see if I can expose some of this and see if I can repair it. Right, so I've gone through and what I've done, see if I can come in close, is we had a couple of traces that were corroded and so they had broken. And this is the first trace here. And this one was controlling the enter button on both sides. So that being corroded, there was actually no continuity between this contact and everywhere else that it needs to go. And then this one here was also corroded. This pin was corroded on both sides. So both sides of this trace were completely cut off. And that's what was killing the other number letter buttons on both player 1 and player 2 sides. So I've gone ahead and I've soldered some patches. So what I did is I took an X-Acto knife and I very carefully just scraped away this green protective layer that they put over the traces to expose all of the copper. And then I went ahead and soldered a patch here for this trace here. And then this one I didn't even really have to do a patch. What I did is I scraped the trace on both sides and then I just kind of put a little bit of a thicker solder blob on that pin so that it would connect with both sides of the exposed copper and the trace. And now all of my buttons are working. So now I can go ahead and start the game.
Prepare for battle.
So
Select game.
I'm going to select game 1 this time. There it is.
Game 1. Select player.
And so I'm going to go with 2 players.
2. Task Force 1. Enter letter number.
All right, so I'm going to enter coordinate A3 because I know that's going to have a ship on A1. And here goes the enter button.
Task Force 1. Army.
So that worked.
Task Force
So
2.
we'll go over here now.
Letter number.
And I'm going to enter the same coordinate over here. A3. Enter.
Task Force 2. Army. Man your battle stations. Task Force 1. Enter letter number. Fire.
So now I'm going to fire on A1 because I know there's a ship there. And we'll see, we're going to hear the firing the missile, we're going to hit, and the LED is going to light up. There you go.
Destroyer. Hit.
We'll do the same thing on this side.
Force 2. Enter letter number. Fire. Task Force 1.
I missed. All right, so there you go. And I've gone ahead and tested all of the buttons, so they're all working. So at this point, the board is working. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and take the LED out, and this is what you saw me do in the previous one. And I'm going to replace it with one of these super brights so that the chamber really lights up. And then I've also got this reflective tape here that I'm going to put inside of the chamber as well, so that when this LED goes off, the entire chamber lights up. So I'm going to go ahead and get started on that, and we'll move forward when we're ready to. My light just went out. We'll move forward, and we'll skip ahead to when we're ready to test it before final assembly, and then we should be good to go. Okay, so at this point, I've gone ahead and replaced the LED, which you can see right there. And I've gone ahead also and cleaned all of the buttons up real good. And I've gone in and put some reflective tape inside of the hit chamber as well. So when that LED goes off, it'll just bounce off all that reflective surface and just make it really, really bright. So, you know, taking a look at the board, I went ahead and cleaned the entire board. I did resolder a couple of spots on here. This was kind of a weird mystery that we just had these 2 random spots corroded right there. And let me get this. So right here, And right here, we just had corrosion on these traces. And it's odd because the rest of the board actually looks really good. It's really clean. I went ahead and cleaned it up anyway, but even before I cleaned it, this board was really clean. It didn't show any signs of damage, just that line corroded in that spot and this line corroded in that spot. So it's really weird. So I went ahead and fixed the traces on both of these. And there's a couple of different ways that you can go about this. Back when I used to do bench repair, depending on, it's all situational. Sometimes we would run wire from basically here to wherever it would meet. Of course, that would not have been a good solution here because then you'd have wire running over these buttons and whatnot. So sometimes scraping the protective layer off of the trace and patching it up like this is the best way to go. Again, it's all situational. You can do things like, again, you can run wire. You can use one of these lead legs from one of your components when you cut the legs off. I like to save these because these are perfect for running little patches like this. It just depends. So again, this one I run a patch here and that worked pretty good. And you know, the idea is that whatever you do holds for a long time, right? On this one here, the corrosion was all around the pin, and I checked the components on the other side. I checked the capacitors, nothing is leaking. Again, there's really no signs of damage on this board, so it's kind of weird and mysterious how these two random spots just corroded the way they did. But this pin had corrosion on both sides, so neither side of the trace was making contact with that pin, but it was such a small spot that I was able to scrape the cover on the trace on both sides of the pin, and then just kind of put a little bit of an extra glob of solder on that pin, just enough to touch the trace on both ends, and that's it. The game is now working. We've got the updated LED, we've got the reflective surface on the board there, or on the hit chamber. And again, now if we put our players on here, let's go with B1. So again, the 1 button is working, and now enter. And the enter button is working, and that's gonna fire, and that should light up for a hit. There you go. So this is all working really good. Let's put it back together and see it finished. So there it is, guys. The game is now put completely back together. It's been repaired. All of the buttons are working. The game actually goes into game mode. It allows you to select the game, select the players, starts the game, and lets you actually play. So that's really, really good news. The light works, but then it also went ahead. We went ahead and upgraded it, so we got a nice bright chamber when you score a hit, and I'll show a close-up of that in just 1 second. So a little more involved of a repair than I was anticipating. I was honestly just anticipating it was going to be corroded or dirty contacts. We were going to clean them and they were going to work. Obviously that was not the case. We had a really weird case of corrosion in two specific spots on the board. We had to do some patchwork on the traces. Not terribly difficult though. We got it done and the board is now working. So hopefully, if you needed some help, if there's some issues that you're having, if you're trying to repair one of these, hopefully you saw something in this video that'll help you get yours fixed. If you have any questions, by all means, as always, leave me a comment down below.
Prepare for battle. Select game. Game 1.
Select 1, yes.
Select players. 2. Task Force 1. Enter letter number.
Enter.
Task Force 1. Armed.
So that worked.
Task Force 2. Enter letter number. Task Force 2. Armed.
We're going into the game.
Man your battle stations. Task Force 1. Enter letter number. Fire. Destroyer hit. Task Force 2. Fire. Hit.
So hopefully you found that helpful. And again, if you have any questions, if you're trying to do one of these and you have any questions, by all means, feel free to leave me a comment down below, ask any questions you'd like. Do you like Battleship? Again, this is like my favorite tabletop game. I have several versions of it. Do you like Battleship? If not, what is your favorite game? Let me know down in the comments. Give me some thumbs up. Subscribe and hit that bell icon so you're notified when I upload a new video. I've got a donate button up there. If you want to hit on that, I certainly would appreciate it. Please share with your friends if you like what you see, and I'll talk to you next time.
Destroyer head. Submarine head. Task Force 2. Fire.